Hey guys, these falafels start with 2 cups of dried chickpeas soaked in plenty of water overnight into a food processor, half of an onion, roughly chopped, 5 cloves of peeled garlic, and a handful of fresh parsley. For spices, I've got about 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of ground cardamom, a teaspoon of dried or fresh dill if you have it, 1.5 teaspoons of coriander or cilantro if you have it, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 2 tablespoons of all-purpose or chickpea flour. Add some freshly cracked black pepper, and pulse until you've reached a consistency that can stick together when you press it together. Chill for a minimum of 2 hours, or ideally overnight covered. Now to start the pita, we're going to start with a sponge, and that's going to be a cup of warm water, a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Stir, add a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, stir again, and rest uncovered for 15 minutes until bubbly and frothy. This recipe, by the way, is courtesy of the Mediterranean dish, and I will leave a link to it in the description. Add 1 3/4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Stir into a shaggy mass. Knead for 2 minutes. Dust with minimal amounts of flour if needed. Cover and let rest for 10 minutes. Roll the dough out onto a work surface. I have a 1/4 cup of reserved all-purpose flour that you may or may not use all of. Add some flour, knead for another 2 minutes, and form a ball. The dough's consistency should be smooth but still moist. Put into a large bowl and coat with oil. Cover and let rise for 1 hour or until doubled in size at room temperature. 1 hour later, press the dough to degas it from all of its bubbles. Divide into 8 mostly equal portions and form into individual balls. Cover and let rest for 10 more minutes. After 10 minutes, lightly dust a rolling pin with flour and roll out each portion into a thin disc shape. Place the dough in a hot, well-greased cast iron skillet. It'll immediately start to form these beautiful bubbles, and it'll be ready to flip in 30 seconds to a minute. Flip and cook for another 30 seconds to a minute, and when finished, take it out of the pan and cover with a clean kitchen towel to keep warm while you cook the other ones. To cook the falafels, form them into a ball or the shape of a patty, depending on your preference, and cook in a pan on a medium-high heat for 2 to 3 minutes on each side or until golden brown. Now that our falafels have been made and our pita has been made, it's time to build our hero-inspired sandwich. I have 2 pitas to create a wrap with, some fresh arugula, sliced grape tomatoes, 2 of our falafel patties, some pickled carrots that I had left over in the fridge, sliced cucumbers, fresh mint and parsley, thinly sliced red onion, feta cheese you can omit if you're vegan, homemade tzatziki that I'll leave the recipe for in the description, which you can also omit if you are vegan, and a little drizzle of tahini just to be a little over the top. And there you have a much better than takeout falafel hero sandwich. It's a delicious and healthy plant-based sandwich. Falafels are very easy to make and packed with flavor and nutrition. The pita reminds me more of a naan or a flatbread, but for this application it works perfectly. You're never going to hear me complain about warm, soft, fresh bread. I'd recommend either of these recipes to anyone who's interested.